Hi. I thought I would do another virtual pastoral visit. It feels very strange not being able to go out and about and knock on your front door and be welcomed into your homes. But I have certainly enjoyed all those telephone conversations that we've had and all those emails that we've exchanged. And it's so good to hear about you and what you're getting up to. And I think that all cupboards everywhere must be extremely clean because everyone seems to be cleaning out cupboards and doing all those little jobs that maybe you put on the back burner that now you've got no excuse not to do. And so I've heard all about what you've been up to, which is lovely. And yes, we've all discovered new routines, haven't we? New ways of living in these strange times. And it is amazing how quickly we adjust and what we find to entertain ourselves and to keep ourselves busy and to keep ourselves fed, both physically and, of course, spiritually. So maybe you're interested in what I've been up to, and indeed, and indeed my husband and our daughter Becky, who is still here with us, of course, and thinks that she's going to be with us for the rest of her life, but that's not true. But it is, I feel sorry for her and her husband Alex, because at the moment, originally the plan was that they would be a week into their honeymoon and having a glorious time. And of course they're not. They're a long, long way apart. And he is on his own in their apartment in Saudi Arabia. At least he does have the dog. Thank the Lord for that. And she is here with us. So what have we been getting up to? Well, we've had some glorious weather. Not this past week, sadly, but we can't complain. But before that, we had such glorious weather. And we decided that we would tackle the lawn at the manse. Now, anyone that's been to the manse or is aware of where it is will recognise that there is a very large back garden and a large expanse of lawn. But of course, like all lawns, it was pretty weedy in places and we had a few bare patches, etc. So we thought, well, let's attack the lawn and see if we can improve it. So we ordered one of those spreader machines that you push along that will disperse the fertiliser or whatever it is that you're going to apply to the lawn. So alongside the spreader, we ordered Miracle Grow 4-in-1. Other products are available, of course. I'm not being paid money to advertise it. And put together first the spreader, because of course nothing comes ready to use, does it? You always have to put things together. So we put it all together, and then a beautiful day, read the instructions, and it said basically fill the spreader to 1/3 full, and then you had to walk at 1 metre per second. So you opened it up to 4.5, and you had to walk 1 metre per second up and down the lawn to spread it evenly. And the important thing, I gather, is that you don't get a load of this 4-in-1 fertiliser and weed killer, etc. combined that falls out in one patch, because that can burn the lawn. So here's a lovely image for you of me marching up and down, trying to count 1 metre a second, trying to make sure I don't miss any patches of our enormous lawn. And of course having to refill it several times, because it's a big lawn, and if you're only going to fill the little bucket thing at the bottom 1/3 full, it needed to stop and refill. Anyway, there I was, up and down, up and down, up and down, trying to turn at the bottom, having a laugh as well as hoping that I was doing a reasonably good job. Anyway, once I'd finished, of course we had such glorious weather that we didn't have any rain at all, nothing, and you have to water it in. Well, you would not believe how long it took with a hose and a sprinkler on the end of the hose, just one of these hand triggers, to water the lawn. An hour it would take me, and then I wasn't convinced that it really had a good watering. So after doing this 3 times in a row, I said to my husband, you know what, We need one of those sprinklers, you know, the ones that you just put on the ground and attach the hose and it will spread the water all over. So yes, we had a good look at all the reviews, which one was best, and then we ordered an oscillator. It wasn't expensive, but boy, is it impressive. I'm very impressed. And I love to watch it. Isn't it amazing that the pressure of the water can turn this thing so that it makes sure that the whole of the lawn is watered? Certainly saved a lot of standing out, trying to wiggle a hose to and fro, to and fro, to and fro. So there you are. That's giving you some things to laugh about as I walked up and down the lawn doing all these things. Of course, as the lawn started to green up, which it does, which is fantastic, it became very apparent that there was a whole strip that I missed. Can you believe this? A whole strip from one end of the longest part of the lawn to the other. There was this strip that I obviously hadn't managed to include. I don't know how I did it. So then I had to go back and just do this strip. And of course this strip now is behind the rest of the lawn, but it's getting there slowly. The other thing that happened, which I'm delighted about, is that all the weeds, especially all those dandelions, there seems to be thousands of them, all started to turn black. Now, the instructions were that you raked them out. That was not going to happen. Boy, these things have got a hold. The roots, some of the roots were like inches long. So Paul and I, on our hands and knees, made sure that we got up every single dandelion. Boy, it took hours. And afterwards, I couldn't stand upright. I was sort of bent double. But we felt that we had achieved something. We really did feel that we had achieved something. And isn't it amazing how those weeds take such a hold that they are so difficult to remove? And it does make me think sometimes that there are things in our lives that really shouldn't be there. And they too can be really difficult to remove, can't they? So the lawn is coming along nicely. It's growing like crazy, and I know I need to cut it, but I'm trying to resist so that the 4-in-1 can do its best. And then of course when I first cut it, I won't cut it too short, but it is coming along lovely, and we can see that it is well worth all those efforts. What else have we done? Well, last year when we lived in Oxfordshire, we had loads of wonderful lupins that we ourselves had brought on and planted, and every year we harvested the seeds, and my husband had 2 or 3 envelopes full of these seeds, so we found them, so we planted those seeds, and we've been bringing them on in the conservatory. So we've been using our conservatory like a greenhouse, and I'm delighted to say that those lupin seeds are now pushing up and doing really well. So it won't be long before I'll be able to plant those on and bring them on even further and eventually put them into the garden. I always seem to do really well with lupins. They must be very hardy and don't need too much care and attention, because I can't say I'm the world's greatest gardener. But lupins always seem to do okay. So that's pretty good. Paul, there's a tiny little patch between the trees that was like an earth soil based patch, and so he's dug that over, and we now have some seeds that have arrived that are tomato and dwarf green bean, and we're going to try and plant those and try and grow some of our own vegetables, well, and fruit, because actually tomatoes are a fruit, aren't they? So we'll see how we get on. If anything grows, I'm always delighted. I'm very easily pleased, me. So we've done that as well. The other thing we've been doing is, Becky and I, we've been doing Keep Fit out in the garden regularly, most days, much to the amusement of the sheep. And we've been following an American, very enthusiastic American lady on YouTube. I really know now what she's going to say before she says it, and we know all these routines off by our heart. but it is great fun. It gives us a laugh, it gives us some mum and daughter time together, it motivates us, and it is helping to combat all those extra calories that we're having through so many cakes that Becky's been baking. So there you go. So here's a nice image for you in my Keep Fit clothes outside doing physical jerks with the sheep most bemused, often coming right up to the gate to have a look to see what on earth are they doing in that lovely green garden. Because of course I think the sheep and the lambs would quite like to get in and have a nibble at our lovely green luscious grass. So there's another image for you of what I've been doing. And what else? Okay. The other thing, of course, is that nearly everything that I'm doing is either over the internet using the screen or indeed using the telephone. Yes, I get out and about walking, and we do a lot of walking, which is good for us. And sometimes when I'm walking, I can deliver things, or I can wave at people that I see in the window and just try and say hello and shout at you through the glass. But mostly it's screen time. And I've been quite shocked as to how tired I'm feeling. Really quite tired and weary almost. And I guess if I add up the amount of hours that I now spend staring at a screen, and of course most times that means staring at myself too, which is a very strange thing to do because we wouldn't normally sit and stare at ourselves, would we? But every online meeting means that whether we're using Zoom or GoToMeeting means that not only can I see everyone else in the meeting, but I can also see myself. And all, of course, these recordings, which I actually quite enjoy doing, and I really appreciate the feedback. But every time I do this recording, I'm looking at myself. And I hadn't realised that it was this that was causing me to feel so tired. Until I read the newspaper yesterday. And in the newspaper, there it was, Zoom fatigue. Who would have known there was such a thing? But there is Zoom fatigue, whereas people are quite exhausted by so much screen time. And it's particularly the phenomenon of staring at yourself, which we don't do. Well, I don't think most of us do that, do we? So I had some days in the diary this coming week, which were days off, my quarter days attached to the bank holiday, etc., which just meant that ordinarily before the lockdown and COVID-19, Paul and I probably would have booked somewhere away, or we may have gone to see our son in Scotland. Well, none of that's going to happen now, but the days are in the diary, and I actually feel that God is saying, take some rest. So next week I'm going to do that. I'm not going to be logging on to my computer. I'm going to have 5 days of no screen time. And hopefully then I will feel a little bit more rejuvenated and back to my old self. So I just thought I'd share that with you, because if you too are using the screen a lot and you are feeling tired, it may well be that you too have Zoom fatigue. They'll give it a name, of course they will, but that doesn't mean it isn't an actual thing. And I believe that as people of faith, we are to be careful that we rest, and that we rest ourselves spiritually and physically. And therefore, in order to try and continue to serve you all in this new format, I really feel it's time to give myself just a little bit of a rest. But don't worry, I will definitely make sure that Sunday's reflections are all there for you. So I just thought I'd share those things with you, really. Of course, I'm continuing playing my saxophone, and actually having had a good couple of really good sessions where I really feel that I'm making leaps and strides and enjoying it, so that's a good thing too. Although, once again, That's really for my personal enjoyment, and I definitely will not be performing for anyone anytime soon. But I enjoy it, and it gives me a whole new interest. And I am a real keen crossword puzzle doer, and I have 2 books, the ×2 crossword puzzles, and I usually have one of those on the go most days. And of course I read everything, to the point we've had to order new books because I've read everything possible that we've got. And I love a good book, and I like to read. So that's so you know what I'm up to, because I know that you share with me what you're up to. And it's important, isn't it, that we make sure that we stay in contact with one another in the best way that we can. And therefore, it's been good to visit with you once again. Thank you for inviting me in, and I look forward to visiting with you again soon. And who knows, after I've had my rest next week, maybe we'll have some plans with an explanation as to how perhaps we're going to start to ease some of our restrictions, and then we'll have to get used to a whole different way of being. But I have a sneaky suspicion that nothing is ever going to be the same again. And maybe that's not such a bad thing. I remember very early on, I said it really felt like God was doing a new thing. And amongst all the heartache and all the terrible struggle, I still believe God is doing a new thing. So bless you. Thank you for listening to me once again. See you soon.